Welcome. In this video, my parents have moved to Swansea, have 5 children, and are responsible for the generation above. They have a lot on.
Were you excited about going back to Swansea?
Oh, I was pleased, yes.
Very pleased or quite?
Well, very pleased. Nancy was there, my mother was there. They were a big help to me with all these babies.
What did Dad think about going to Swansea?
He never settled in Swansea.
No, what did he think about it at the time?
Oh, he was very pleased to get the chair, and we had a lot more money.
A lot more money?
Yeah.
And he also got, he was the first professor there, wasn't he?
The foundation. Yes, there are about 5 there now.
So you moved down to Swansea in 31st of October 1965? Yes, and how much longer was before David was born?
5-year gap.
Yes.
Between Margaret and him.
Yes. So he was born on December the 12th.
That's right.
So where did you move to first in Swansea?
Pardon?
Where did you move to in Swansea?
Oh, we had a furnished house to begin with, and Trevor and David had to share a bed, and it was hell.
Probably me and Trevor.
And then somebody I knew somebody. Oh, I know, Alan Tanvan's wife, a judge, and his wife told me, well, there is an empty house going, it's going to be empty, belongs to the council, but it's very run down.
This is Eaton Crescent?
In Eaton Crescent. So, whatever the condition of it was, we moved in, and the first thing we did, there was a room off the hall, quite a good little room. Mark didn't like it, so we had that knocked down, and we had the central heat. And my uncle Jack had died and left me £500, and we spent that on the central heating.
Did you like the house?
Oh, it was a beautiful house.
It was a big house, wasn't it?
Oh,
for a big family.
Spacious, wonderful hall, and wonderful friends.
So were you happy there?
Well, they were the happiest years of my life.
No.
Yes.
And what about the people that lived on the Crescent?
Margaret Davis, she was a thorn in my flesh.
Oh, she for a long time. But then you liked Alan Davis, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Who did you like on the Crescent?
Betty Rees and David Rees, they were my pals.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's I liked.
Yes.
And
it was a good crowd, wasn't it?
oh, they were a good lot. And Talvin and his wife were there. And Alan Talvin, he was the judge. And my uncle in London had married them. He conducted their wedding. So I got off on the right foot in Swansea. And I remember Mark taking me before David was born, and being introduced to the professor of Welsh, and he bowed and whatnot, and somebody turned to me and spoke in Welsh, and he more or less said, "Good God," he said, Tell me, he said, "It's Hansel married a Welsh girl." And I got off very well with them all.
Now here's a strange question, because all your children were going to school, Sketty and Bryn Mill and all the grammar schools and what. What did you think of your children when they were growing up in the school years?
I was so busy I didn't think like that.
What did you think though?
What did I think about? Well, I used to think, what did I think?
Well, you worked hard, didn't you?
I was so tired. No,
well, it's unbelievable what you had to do.
3 of them in 2 years and 9 months.
No, but I'm talking about in Eaton Crescent now, because you had to do the washing, the cooking, the shopping, the cleaning.
Oh, I did have a woman in.
Yeah, you kept on firing her.
But as soon as she came, she had to go. Right. Because Mark was smoking, and that took a lot of the money. And we had this loan from the university of £300.
And 5
which
children.
we had to pay back. But I regret to this day, mark you, I had 30-odd thousand from my superannuation, and I used it to clear the debts and to buy washing machine and all furniture.
The doorbell went, so I finished recording Mum. And if we look at the individual family members, well, Dad was in his late 40s when we moved to Swansea, and I think he was really in his prime. He enjoyed his job at Swansea. He used to be able to walk through Singleton and Brimmill parks, often coming back at lunchtime. He wasn't necessarily a good communicator or teacher, but I think he was a very able administrator, drawing from his experience in the Air Force, and he successfully built up the department from scratch. I think he was popular. I think he enjoyed being his own boss and also working with numerous research students.
This shows the psychology department in
65.
about 65. I think it was later than that, actually,
yeah,
much later.
70.
I can't see all the faces now. But
Were they a good bunch?
they weren't bad.
Did you like them?
Most of them are no longer still alive. The one on the left, for a tall chap, he became a lady.
Oh, Fiona.
Dad became well known for his book on ESP, though he himself didn't regard this as a science and more a pseudoscience. His area was still in how the eye sees and sees colour and interprets patterns, and he worked on this all the way through his time in Swansea and through retirement as well. Dad was a very accomplished musician. I didn't find out until very late on that he played the saxophone in a dance band just before the war. But his primary love was the violin. He'd practiced for many hours, but he preferred playing with others, be it here with Janet or in the string quartet, often with Trevor or with friends, even Mr. Hibbert banging away. I think Dad was taken aback by the sheer noise of having 5 children and often retreated into his study. That said, he was amazingly supportive of all 5 children. Being at graduation, here he is up in London coming to see me. And of course, he loved cars. He always wanted to have a soft-top car of his own. He still had plenty of friends and was very loved amongst the Welsh community, not least Auntie Nancy. I think he looks really good here. His old friend Ted Stafford came up to see him, Morgan Lloyd on the violin, and his great friend Peter Sen from RAF days. Dad had a good life. Coming back to Wales brought Mum a lot closer to her family. Here she is with her mother Annie and sisters Mary and Celia. And Mum was at that stage where she was looking after the generation above as much as the generation below. So here we have Nana in her garden, and there was a whole host of old ladies to look after. Here's Auntie Mara, who's a big pal of Mum's, together with Kath and Richard, and Auntie Nancy, who was Mum's best friend and the only person on the planet allowed to tell her off, which she did frequently. And here's Benny next to one of the standing stones. Mum now had 5 children to look after, almost single-handedly, which is a massive amount of work for anybody to do. But she threw herself into it and did a fantastic job. You can see in her in a typical pose on the telephone, which was her lifeline. And I think she looked well on it, didn't she? She was the matriarch of the family. We all knew where we stood. And as the kids got older, she started to have more time to kind of get away and see the world. So here she is in London town, and then down at Swansea Marina before Swansea Marina was built, at the waterfalls near Neath, and with her 2 daughters. The final photographs taken on Boxing Day when she's looking down on Port Talbot and then on to Llangynnoi Church for inspection with Trevor. Here's Janet on the beach. We went to Sketty School first, and then she went on to Cloyne y Bryn, which was just literally at the end of the road, a girls' grammar school here in Guides as well. She had a bit of a difficult teenage time. She had kind of health problems, mainly based around breathing and what have you. But eventually she got herself off to Southampton University, and then from Southampton she went on to London town. I think she worked for a Japanese bank or something like that. Met Jeremy and got married. And before you know where you are, Eleanor came along, the first of my parents' grandchildren. Here's Trevor. He went on to the Never School after Sketty, which was unfortunate because his friends all went to Bishop Gore. He's a very talented musician and got into the National Youth Orchestra of Wales. He then went on to study biochemistry in Birmingham and medicine in Cardiff, which was the start of a distinguished academic career. Here he is in typical pose, pacing around the house. Who's this good-looking chap? I think it must be me. I had a pretty idyllic childhood, having gone to Brynmill and Bishop Gore, friends on the Crescent like Jonathan and Lawrence. And yes, Bishop Gore was a really good old school. You can see Margaret and David eventually went on there again. I enjoyed helping in the garden, especially mowing the lawn. And you can see that the hair starting to come now. Very, very keen cyclist, very fond of that around the Gower, and very fond of Nana as well. That was a really excellent. Look, the hairstyles coming on. I love pop music, basically. The only one in the family that did. At Bishop Gore, Paul and David were big friends. So look at that David Bowie haircut now. It's looking, oh, it's gone there. Never mind. And here I am working on the motorway. 2 years. You can see in the summer of 76, we kind of got ridiculously tanned. And then after university, I used to come back a lot to see mum and dad and basically escape into the Gower. David would be around as well, which was really nice. And had a love of photography like dad did. Here's Margaret. She loved the beach and she especially loved the sun. She used to use coconut oil, I think, as sun protection. She also got to dress up on St. David's Day as the rest of us chomped on leeks. She got this fantastic outfit here. And essentially, she was a pretty happy girl. Her best friends were the Reese girls who lived just down the road. And she also loved all furry little animals, starting off with the terrapins. We then move on to white mice, which got involved with the local mice, and that was a bit disastrous. But the whole family learnt the facts of life from these two randy tortoises, Sammy and Penny. They were magnificent. You could hear them at it night and day. She was in the Queen's Guides, which is very good. And I think this is towards later days when the older kids had kind of moved away, so she was able to be Queen of the Roost. Here she is with Mum, and then Mum came up for graduation, which was very nice indeed. And then after Margaret was in London, working in Eltham, Margaret would come up to Swansea. She got married to Seamus, a big wedding. Trevor got married roughly the same time, but I haven't got pictures of that. Here's baby David when he literally was a baby. The only one of my parents' 5 children to be born in Wales. He's an extremely proud Welshman and loves that fact. He was also multi-talented. You can see him starting to walk and run, and then he moved on to cycling. In his later years, he became a famous gunslinger, and he could also play the cello to a remarkable level before signing up to be a zookeeper. He was a happy child, mainly because he didn't have any of the other jealousies and rivalries that the others had, because there was kind of a big 5-year gap between that. But but he was a huge Swansea City fan, and that in his early formative years, they were top of the league, then went plummeting down, which had affected him. But by the end, they went back up again, so he was very happy about that. So Wales and Swansea City, the two things that define him. He went to Warwick University, had now become a lawyer. Here he is with Mum down at the Gower, which is very nice to see. And then here he is with his brother, that's me, and down at the Mumbles with Margaret and Mum. So David, King of the Roost, when all the rest of the children are left home. With 5 children, my parents were very lucky to have the Gower Peninsula just round the corner, as holidays further afield must have been a logistical nightmare.
This was taken during our holiday on the Norfolk Broads. Trevor appears in the picture down at the bottom left. I can't remember much more about it.
Marcus smoking a pipe. The first time I ever really noticed him was in 1952 when he was lighting up a pipe then.
So what do you do with a man that smoked the smelly old pipe?
Oh, it was very nice tobacco. Mark wanted to go to the Norfolk Broads because he had memories of childhood holidays there, but it was an enormously long journey from Swansea, and the children, we went through Buckingham, children got very fed up. We went to look at Mark's family green gravestones in Gorston, but you children just went on strike.
We had a magnificent selection of beaches to go to. This is Swansea Bay. One of our big favourites was Bracelet Bay, little safe rock pools, and of course rock scrambling, which we loved, followed by an ice cream on the way home. If we went a bit further afield, here with the Reese girls, we'd go to Oxwich Bay. There was a big car park there, and then a huge sweep of bay. Sometimes we'd come down to the woods, through Crawley Woods, and literally have the place to ourselves. Another big favourite was picnics. We'd go off to see Nana and take her off, very often on Forestry Commission land. I think here we're on a field with a view down, and it was fantastic. pop and sandwiches. About the only other holidays we ever had would be when we went down to Devon to see Uncle Trevor.
Mark and I were staying down in Kingswear with Janet, Trevor and the girls, and they took us out to see the village of Hansel, which consists of about 4.5 houses. On the way there, I think Janet detected the road sign to the village of Hansel. Mark was going to take a photograph, and then Janet said, "This can't be. Gwen, you come with me. We are not of the blood royal. I'll take this photograph, and only the Hansel should be in it."
We had 2 trips down to the south of France. This was wildly exciting, and most of us had never even been to London. The first was in 1972, and Dad had been invited to talk at a conference at St Paul de Vence. So we got in the big old Vauxhall and we drove down, 3 in the front and 3 in the back. Hang on, that only makes 6. What happened to baby David? Well, he was cruelly left behind. 2 days later we were there. St Paul de Vence looked beautiful on the hilltop, and we went kind of wine tasting and perfume at Grasse nearby. And so Mum and Dad were in the height of luxury. Meanwhile, we had this crummy old green tent, which, funnily enough, I took down to France 4 or 5 years later. We had a great time. We're not used to continuous sunshine, not used to a sea that was warm, not used to magnificent views without the steelworks in the back. And my abiding memory is walking around the campsite in a hot summer's evening, listening to Gary Glitter, Rock and Roll Part 2, pulsing out. It was absolutely magnificent. We ate really well, be it from the massive casino supermarket nearby or little kind of French restaurants, food like we'd never really had before. So our first trip abroad, a huge success. So 2 years later, we did the whole thing again. This time though, we took David. Yes, we did. And we also had a different car. And it was a bit smaller. So what we had was this trailer which we carried, and remarkably it finally went about 100 yards from Eton Crescent when we got home. It was long and hot on the motor. We had to stop a number of times, but we did buy magnificent peaches, the best peaches I've ever had in my life. And you know what? I think everybody seemed pretty happy on this holiday. We knew the ropes a little bit better. I think David was really pleased to see us. We were on this beautiful beach, which lovely soft sand, and even Dad got into the swing of things, deciding to do that very English thing, unbutton his shirt and get magnificently sunburnt. We'd also brought all the way from England a little rubber dinghy, which was fantastic fun, and all in all, we had a great time. I have fond memories of our trips to France. The Uplands was a middle-class enclave in the middle of working-class Swansea. The boys in my class thought that Eton Crescent was incredibly posh, so we had to keep up appearances. You see the stripes on the lawn there, which I was very proud of, and the back garden was a nice place just to kind of chill out. The whole house got painted by my good self, and we had a row of shops on Walter Road. We had 2 chemists, yes, count them 2. This was Wayne's, our big food shop, and the Uplands bookshop where we would all buy our Christmas presents from. Mum got deliveries from Russell's, that would put the butchers, and Davies for bread. So this is the Grove where Paul Harry lived, and if we wanted shoes, it had to be the Upland shoe shop. As for haircuts, Tony, well, he knew everything about everything, and we also had Waldron where Mum went for her hair, and you can see the strip kind of going down there. If you went round the back, you got into the back entrance of Wayne's, and this is Chug, who ripped me off on an old sofa, and then into our back alley, or Dog Poo Lane as it was more affectionately known. I think you can just about see our house there. Brimmill, very different, lots of little terraced houses going down to the sea. We could hear the rugby ground from our house, and of course the Cricketers was a fabulous pub, and Brimmill was a fabulous junior school. This is on my daily walk to Bishop Gore School. Here's the Catholic church where Margaret got married, and the entrance to Singleton Park in which Bishop Gore was situated. Christmas Day was always a highlight at home, both when all of us kids were at home, but also once we'd all gone off to university. We all used to make a big effort to kind of get back home, and it really was a fabulous day. You can see lots of preparation going on getting the house ready. Here's Mum cooking the turkey, which is usually a whopper. Dad with his cooking hat on, but in reality I don't think he did much more than serve the turkey and light up the Christmas pudding. The meals were absolutely delicious. We used to eat our kind of complete body weight, and the whole house was decorated and looked, I thought, absolutely fabulous. Here's the Christmas pudding on fire. as we go through the Christmases, you start to see new people arriving because, of course, by now there'd been 3 weddings: Janet to Jeremy, Trevor to Jill, and Margaret to Seamus, and everybody used to start turning up. Here's David with his spy catcher book, and what a magnificent turkey we have here, and Christmas pudding. These are all on show. And here's Mum beaving away, I think, with pigs in blanket. But what's this? Yes, a grandchild, because we started this video with David being born in Swansea, and we end this video with Mum and Dad moving out of Eaton Crescent and the first of the grandchildren arriving. So they're just about ready to start their third age, which is an exciting time for them as Dad comes towards retirement. Here's Eleanor, and here's Mum walking Eleanor, and here's the kind of extended family now with just that one grandchild. So I hope you like this. There'll be one last video to come on Mum and Dad's retirement, and then we'll have finished their life story.